If you feel like you and your spouse just aren't connecting, or maybe you don't even know how to connect anymore, you're not alone. But here's the good news. I have the perfect answer today to that dilemma. I'm going to give you 3 questions guaranteed to increase connection in your relationship. Yes, I did say guaranteed. No, I'm not backing off of that. Today, 3 questions guaranteed to increase connection in your relationship here on RelationShots. Welcome to RelationShots. My name's Eric Wooten, and if this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome to the family. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss upcoming videos that will help your relationship. So today I want to talk about an area that every single relationship struggles with, is struggling with, or will struggle with. That's what we're going to talk about today. If you've ever heard or said something similar to, I feel like we're just roommates, or I love him, but I'm not in love with him anymore, or I just don't feel like we connect emotionally like we used to, or maybe something to the effect of we function real well, just getting things done, but we never really go beneath the surface. If that's you, then you know what it feels like to say, I'm just not emotionally connected to my spouse. It's normal. Every relationship goes through it, and the good news is it's not something that you can't get back, so be encouraged today. When I talk about 3 simple questions today that will help you connect in your relationship, you have to remember one thing. We often fail to remind ourselves that a relationship is dynamic. People grow and people change, so what may have worked to connect you in the last season might not work to connect you in this current season. And so these 3 questions will help you keep connected in every season. I'd ask you to commit them to memory and commit to asking them of each other every single week. Here's the 3 questions. The first question I want you to ask your spouse is what I call the empathy question. You simply ask, what are your greatest stressors right now? And then you listen. You let them tell you about how certain things at work are causing stress. You let them tell you how maybe their family's putting pressure on them. Maybe parenting is causing them stress. Maybe their own ideas of trying to be perfect in things are putting stress upon themselves, but you simply listen. So fellas, if you've ever heard your wife say things like, you don't understand me, you don't hear me, you don't care about me, then this one question will single-handedly take care of that riddle for you. You're welcome. And ladies, listen, guys are not immune to this as well. Now, you may think they don't have stress because we don't often show it and sometimes we hide it and sit on it, but under the surface, it's probably there hanging out somewhere. And unlike your girlfriends, most of us guys do not connect and support each other emotionally because we're too busy coming up with nicknames to make fun of them for the dumb thing they just did. So you need to support your men in this area, and you need to ask the question, what are their greatest stressors right now in this season? Now remember, this is a connection and empathy question. This is not a problem-solving question. So don't provide a solution unless they ask you for a solution, or if you are their greatest stressor, then I would say you might want to work on a few things. So that's the empathy question. The second question is what I call the support question. You simply ask your spouse, what is one thing I can do to take weight off your shoulders right now? Now, this should be about action, not simply listening. So what you're shooting for is to do something that will help your spouse during the current season. Now, I don't know about you, but there's nothing more frustrating in my relationship when I feel like I'm working hard and I'm being intentional and I'm trying to do things only to get into a conflict and have my wife say something like, you never help fill in the blank. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to list all the things I've helped do yesterday, today, and last week. But the key here is it's not just doing something, it's actually doing the right things. For instance, I could spend 3 hours cleaning up the house, but if what my wife needs most right now is for me to spend an hour helping with the kids' homework so she doesn't have to do it tonight when she gets back home and she's tired, doing the right thing is going to pay off more than just doing something, because I'm not going to get the appreciation, the encouragement, or the credit for all the time I spent if I'm not doing the right thing. And the right thing is different in different seasons. So don't think you asked this question once 5 years ago and it's the same answer for the rest of your life. Now, when our girls, we have 3 girls, when they were young, 6, 4, and 1, What my wife needed most from me in the moment was when I got home from work, no matter how tired I was, no matter what else I wanted to do, if I came in the door, took the 3 kids and kept them occupied, took them outside, took them for a ride, just kept them busy, that gave my wife a time to rest and breathe. Or if she was making dinner, if I took the 3 kids out of the kitchen so they weren't hanging on her feet, that helped her in that season. So in our lives, there was a season when my help was most needed doing bath time and getting the kids in bed. Another season, my help was most needed getting them up in the morning and off to school. And as the kids got older, my help was most needed at nighttime doing their homework because school was easier for me than it was for my wife. So it caused more stress for her to help with homework than it did me. So you need to ask the question because it's going to be different in different seasons. But I promise you, if I only had one question to ask, this would be the question to regularly, I would say weekly. If you're not on it weekly, then at very least twice a month, ask your spouse, what is one thing I can do right now that would take some weight off your shoulders? And I promise you that will help keep you connected. Question number 3 is what I call the priority question, and it's kind of a 2-parter. So you need to ask your spouse, what do I do that makes you most feel cared for? And the counter question to that is, what do I do that makes you feel like you're not a priority when I do those things? And you need to figure out what it is that they need most from you to feel cared for, and what are the things that you might do that make them feel like they're not a priority in your life. So don't assume that whatever you like that makes you feel loved and cared for is the same thing your spouse likes, because we're all different. So you need to figure out what are a few things that you can do that makes them feel loved, supported, and cared for, and you need to try to do them. But on the flip side, you also need to be aware of some things that you might be doing that make them feel like they're not a priority, and sometimes you're completely unaware of these things. So I would say that if you work a lot of hours, if you travel and then you come home and your idea is every Saturday you're going to go spend 6 hours on the golf course with your buddies, your spouse probably thinks you're not prioritizing them quite like you need to. So you need to ask them the question. It may be a season where your hobbies take a backseat to what your spouse most needs from you. Now you think that these are just kind of obvious and you should know them, but after 25 years of marriage, I thought I knew everything my wife needed. And a couple years ago, we had a season where I felt like we just weren't connecting. And so I said, hey, what's going on? Just don't feel like we're real close or connecting. And she said these words to me, I just don't feel safe with you. And of course, I was like, what are you talking about? I never put my hands on you. I don't cuss at you. I don't yell at you. Come on, man, I'm the most safe person around. But she reminded me, I have a tendency to make fun of people. That's kind of my love language. And so when people make fun of me, I like them. And so I like to do the same. But what she said to me was, I never know when something I share with you is going to become the butt of your next joke, either in private or in a group setting, because I'm an equal opportunity offender and I'll do it anywhere. So it was a reminder to me that when I took something she said in confidence, I made it part of a joke somewhere later. She felt like she was not cared for, was not a priority, and ultimately didn't feel safe in the relationship. So that's been something I've been working on for the last couple years to keep her out of the midst of the butts of my joke. So those are the 3 questions: the empathy question, the support question, and the priority question. So I want to challenge you this week to ask your spouse just one of those questions and then see how you can begin to be intentional to create greater connection in your relationship. I also want to hear about it in the comment section below. So share your ideas, how you've worked it, how it's helped, so that we all can learn and grow from one another. Look forward to seeing you next time on RelationShots.